Okay, we are in middle of Likutey Moharan Torah Yudalid. Torah Yudalid is called LeHamshich Shalom, and we're up to part 8, Ot Chet in Torah Yudalid. Says Rabbi Nachman, "Kshemachzira kavod leshorsho," once you have done all of these things that we spoke about and the formula, you follow the formula, learning Torah selflessly, learning Torah with the intention of sharing the Torah, learning a Torah of kindness, Torah chesed, and you've spread the light of Hashem through the source of the souls, which are all sourced in the Torah, and you have caused the birth of new souls, and those souls are sent out to potential converts. And this is causing a ripple effect that causes tremendous kavod to Hashem, tremendous increase of glory to the Ribono Shel Olam, when people that are far out, far away, disconnected, sparks of holiness, like places like where Yitro was, they return to Hashem, and that brings the kavod to Hashem. That returns the kavod, the glory, back to the Ribono Shel Olam. And so now, says Rabbi Nachman, "Kishemachzira kavod leshorsho, hainu la'yir'ah," because now we have to understand the other half of the formula. All of this up until now in the Torah, all the first 7 parts of this Torah up until now, we're just explaining how to go about bringing the kavod back to the source. But if you remember, the whole Torah is supposed to explain to us, how do we draw peace? LeHamshich Shalom, that's what it's called. And Rabbi Nachman right away, as soon as he said LeHamshich Shalom, he says, oh, in order to draw peace, you need to first bring back the kavod of Hashem to its source, which is Yira, so that you're in awe of Hashem's glory, and you have fear and awe, and you glorify the Talmidei Chachamim that are God-fearing Jews. So it goes both ways. What does it mean that kavod, the glory of Hashem, is its source? The source of the kavod of Hashem, the source of the glory of Hashem is yira, is fear, is awe. And that means, on the one hand, that you are in awe of Hashem's glory. On the other hand, it means that you're glorifying those that are God-fearing. Okay? So that means that the kavod is with yira. Okay? But Rabbi Nachman said that that's only a prerequisite in order to draw down the peace, LeHamshich Shalom. So now we have to understand the second half of the puzzle. We have to get the missing pieces that are going to explain to us how all of this process that we spoke about is going to help us bring peace. So that's what he's going to begin to explain in this piece now, in this part now. כשמחזיר הכבוד לשורשו, היינו ליראה, כנ"ל, ואז נשלם פגמי היראה, ואז זוכה לשלום. ויש שני מיני שלום. So Rabbi Nachman first of all says like this. He says, when you bring the glory back to its source, back to the aspect of awe, the energy of awe and fear, so that fixes and rectifies the energy of awe, the energy of fear, the midah of yira. It fixes it. When kavod is together with yira, and you are glorifying, for example, when you're glorifying the God-fearing Jews, when you're glorifying the Yirei Shamayim, the Talmidei Chachamim, when you are honoring them and glorifying them, right? So that is causing the midah of yira that is in these Talmidei Chachamim to be completed, to be fixed, to be rectified, to be perfected, to be elevated, to be lifted up. When in the same way, when you are in awe of Hashem's glory, so that awe is also elevated, rectified. Okay, this is very, very important point that Baal Shem Tov points out so many times, how we have to train ourselves, we have to train our hearts, and we have to train our minds, our thinking and our feeling, to associate that the experience of fear, the experience of what's called yira, should be an experience of awe, not a lower fear, not a constricted fear, not a disconnected fear, even when it's in regards to Hashem. It should not be a fear of the punishments, a fear of the losing out, parnasa, or losing out certain blessings in this world, or missing out, or not receiving. That should not be the main experience of awe and fear in your life. The main experience of awe and fear should be, yira should be an awe of Hashem's greatness, of the limitlessness, the infiniteness, the beyond, the great beyond of the Rebbe Shalom. How great and how awesome and how eternal and how infinite and omnipresent is the Rebbe Shalom. And contemplating that brings a person to feel yira in the state of awe, which is yira in a higher form, in an expanded form. It's a yira that allows your heart to open up, to swell up, and to experience elevated emotions, which is the whole beginning in serving Hashem, right? That expanded consciousness. And what's really interesting, a really important point that's brought down by the Or HaMeir, the holy tzaddik, who was Talmud of the Maggid Mimezrich. So he's second generation Talmidim of the Baal Shem Tov. And he says that it's very surprising to him and very interesting to him how everybody rushes to make sure as soon as they experience a fallen love, right? What's called chesed nefula, ahava nefula. When a spark from the world of love falls into its disconnected form, into a constricted consciousness, and people experience that as lust, desires for all these things in the outside world. So people are always rushing to make sure that they fix that, right? As soon as a person feels such an emotion, such a feeling, we're speaking about someone who has an ounce of Yirat Shamayim, and he's a little bit God-fearing, right? That's the first. That's something that everyone is careful. Make sure, if you feel a lust or a desire for something in the outside world, to make sure you fix that and you elevate that energy back to its source so that you experience it as love of Hashem. But he says, what's very interesting to me is that people don't rush and don't run so quickly to fix fallen fears as much as they do when it's a fallen love. And he's referring to anxieties and depression and guilt and shame and sadness and grief and worries, all of those lower emotions that are they are subcategories of yira. They're subcategories of fallen gevura, because everything is either chesed or gevura tiferet. Everything that comes afterwards is sourced in that. And so all of these negative emotions of fear and worry and depression, anxiety, and all that is in a fallen fear. It's a fallen yira. But you don't see people running and rushing to make sure that they don't stay in such an emotion. They're okay to stay in that emotion. How come? Why are people such tzaddikim and so holy and so perfect and rushing, making sure they don't have an ounce of a fallen love? But when it comes to the fallen fear, they can stick around in that sometimes for days and longer than that. So it's very important that we rectify the fallen fears as much, at least as much, as the fallen loves. Okay, that means that the energy of fear, that when it's in its disconnected and in constricted form, we have to fix it and elevate it so that it's experience an expanded consciousness as an awe, right? As a feeling that your heart can swell and open up and feel that expanded consciousness of that energy in an expanded way, in a way that there is a continuation. It's not just here and now. It's in a coherent, open, all in alignment with the divine, with life. Okay, and so Rabbi Nachman says a beautiful way of how to do that. He says, when you are returning the kavod of Hashem to yira, when kavod and yira are unified, when glory and fear or awe is unified, and you're in awe of Hashem's glory, or you are glorifying and honoring those that are God-fearing, then the awe is completed, is rectified, is fixed, is elevated, and is lifted to its most perfect form. So that's what he says here in the first line. He says that will rectify anything that is lacking in your energy, in your midah of yira. And through this, says Rabbi Nachman, completing the yira is in effect, how you're going to draw peace. Why? Because the word for peace in the Torah, shalom, means really shleimut. It means perfection, completing. In a place that is lacking, wherever there is lack, you complete that lack, and that's the experience of peace. Okay? Wherever there is a piece missing, when you fill up that with whatever piece is missing, you merit peace. Shalom. Okay? So, that's the experience of shalom. Shalom is shlemut. Where is there a piece missing? Where is there a deficiency, a lack, that when you complete that, when you fix that and rectify that, you merit peace? It's always in the place of gevurah. It's always in the side of, in the Gemara, there's another term, Rabbi Nachman, he brings this Gemara about the Ruach Tzafon, about the northern direction, the northern wind. And north in Kabbalah, according to the Torah, north is the direction that represents Gevurah. Why? Because the compass, the human compass, right? A man, the position that a man, according to the Torah, is standing is that his face is towards the east. That's why the eastern direction is called Kadim, Kedem, the front. Like we call it also, the eastern one is also called Ruach Kidmit or Ruach Kedem. And the back of a person faces west. If your front is facing east, your back is facing west. And then your right arm will be the south, and your left arm will be the north. And so the left side, the left arm, which represents Gevurah, is represented by the direction of north, Safon. And we have places in the Medrash, in the Torah, and the Gemara that allude to the fact that, like it says in the Pasuk, Mitzafon tipatach hara'ah. And also Mitzafon zahav yehete. Okay, so from Tzafon comes bad or evil. Okay, that's why all evil comes from them. They are attaching themselves. All evil only exists from the energy that they suckle and steal from the side of Gevurah, because it's a weaker energy. The side of Chesed they are not able to come close to. The light that comes from the side of Chesed blinds them and dissolves them. They cease to exist when such a light is revealed. But the energy that they steal from, that they are able to get somewhat close enough to steal crumbs from that energy, and that's what gives energy to the evil in the world, is the side of Gvura, is the side of Yira, of fear. And that's the direction of north, and that's why the pasuk says, "From the north will come the difficulties, the pain, the suffering will come from the north. And the evil comes from the north. Also, north is the place of where gold comes from." There's another pasuk that makes a reference from that. And gold is known to be the metal that represents the midah of Yira. As opposed to silver. Silver represents chesed, kindness, and that's why silver is called kaspa. Kaspa is also, the Zohar calls it chivra ki kaspa. Kaspa is known to be white. It's given the color white. Silver is given the color white, whereas gold is given the color red. Red is the energy of Gvura. Red is the energy of Din, judgment, like Esav was a redhead. And white is the aspect of kindness. That's why on Shabbat, the Mekubalim wear white, right? That's also one of the reasons why we eat milk products on Shavuot, because of all the judgment that the blood that is sweetened into milk. The Gemara says, the Zohar says how milk in a woman and a female is really blood. Dam ne'echkar v'na'aseh chalav. When there's a process that turns the blood into the milk. And Kabbalistically, that represents a sweetening of judgment. So blood is obviously judgment energy. It's yira, it's gevura, and it's red. And in the process turns it into milk and becomes white, which is kindness, which is chalav. The sweetening of the judgment energy. And so the point here is like this. When you take the midah of yira, the midah of yira, as we said, is gevura, obviously. And gevura is the place where there are deficiencies. The tribulations, the trials and tribulations and the adversity that a person experiences in their life come about from the midah of yira, from the place of gevura. As we said, in the direction of north is where evil and where adversity comes from. And you take that midah, you take that place of yira that is susceptible to evil, and you rectify it, you complete it. By completing it, by rectifying it, by fixing it, and how do you fix it? You fix it with the glory of Hashem, combining the glory, the aspect of honor and glory, to this aspect of fear, of awe, so that it's from fear now just not a lowly fear, becomes an awe, that completes whatever piece was missing in the yira, and whatever deficiency was there. And now it's fortified, and it's in its rightful place at source. And in that expanded place, you have now experienced peace. You have now experienced shleimut, a perfection that has happened. And that brings that inner peace. And now I just want to give a very beautiful way that you can experience this. One of the most powerful ways of completing the deficiencies that are in the fear, so that fear turns into an awe, and then you experience peace, is through acceptance. And this is a yesod that we see in the Baal Shem Tov. It's obviously in the Gemara, right? The Gemara says how there was a story where Rabbi Akiva was shipwrecked, and then they heard about it, and they saw that his ship was wrecked, and he was at sea. And then some time later, weeks later or days later, they saw him on shore, and he was fine, and he was okay, and he survived it. And they asked him, "What did you do?" And he said that every wave that came towards me, I bowed my head at it. Okay, and so this is an instruction on how a person deals with the waves that are coming to drown him in his life. And that is really that's just a metaphor for all of the adversity a person experiences in life. And the way to do that is through acceptance. When you bow your head at it, instead of resisting it, you bow your head and you accept and you welcome it and you let it pass over you. That sweetens the judgment and it allows it to pass. And that completes whatever deficiency you were experiences, and it brings you that inner peace that we're speaking about right now. That's the experience that you have as a result of fixing the deficiency in the energy of yira. You experience that peace that comes from the acceptance. This is not only in the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov taught how if a person wants to live a good life in this world and in the next world, then he should learn to accept everything that happens in his life with stillness, with complete acceptance, and with equanimity. And it's also in the Tomer Devora, Rabbi Moshe Cordovera, on the last page, when he's speaking about the tikkunim of the Malchut, he mentions it in 1/2 a line. How when you accept the difficulties that come to you, you're sweetening that judgment energy. And that's the peace that you're experiencing. So again, when you rectify and when you complete this yira, then you experience it as a peace. So let me just finish this paragraph quickly. Shalom. יש שלום בעצמיו, כי תחילה צריך האדם לראות שיש שלום בעצמיו. כי לפעמים אין שלום, כמו שכתוב, אין שלום בעצמיו אם נחתתי. ועל ידי היראה זוכה לשלום בעצמיו, כמו שכתוב בזוהר, באתא דאית דחילה, תמה תשתכח שלמתה. כמו שכתוב, כי אין מצור לרעיו. So Rabbi Nachman is going to explain to us how there are two different types of peace. Okay, and there's something that is a whole process. From one piece brings to prayer, and then that will bring to the next piece. But there are two types of peace. The first peace that he wants to speak about is the peace that a person experiences within their bones. Okay, within your own self, within your own body. Okay, in your own personal world, you want to experience peace. Sometimes a person is lacking that peace, and that's expressed in the pasuk in Tehillim that says, "Ki en shalom ba'atzamai b'mechatati." I am lacking. I have no inner peace because of my sins. Right? There's a whole Torah. Rabbi Nachman explains when a person sins, the sins break. They are engraved within his bones from one end to the other end, and that causes the bones of the person spiritually to break apart. And when a person confesses those sins in a proper way, then that removes the venom of the sins from the bones, and the bones are reunited together and reconnected as one. But the point is that there's an aspect, an experience of lacking peace in a person's own bones, in a person's own physical body. The inner peace, that's what we're speaking about. And through the awe, when you fix the yira, the fear, to become an awe, an expanded energy of yira, you merit to have this inner peace, this peace in your bones. And we see this in the Zohar. The Zohar says that in a place where you have fear of Hashem in its higher form, awe of Hashem, in that place you will see wholeness. Okay, wholeness is that experience that comes from the peace, right? As we said, shalom is shlemut. That's the wholeness. It's feeling complete. That's the inner peace. A person doesn't have inner peace if he's lacking that. And the Zohar brings a pasuk, as we know, the famous pasuk also from Tehillim, ki en machsor lire'ah. There is nothing lacking for those that fear Him. Those that fear Hashem are never lacking. That means that when you have the aspect of fear of Hashem, which is fear in its source form, then you're not lacking. Then you're complete. You're experiencing wholeness, and you're experiencing shalom. You're experiencing peace, and that's the first type of peace that Rabbi Nachman is going to be speaking about. So let's continue in the next year on this.